Oh, anyone that, I mean, it just depends. I write multiple genres. So, I mean, if you like suspense and mystery and uh, The Predators of Darkness is a good series for that. But like I say, the first book in it is probably the darkest thing I've written besides a book that's called Devil's Den, which is a haunted cave. Those are probably the two darkest novels I've written. But I have a young adult series that's D's Mystery Solvers. And basically, they're about the length of Goosebumps books. And so, that would be an audience pretty much for those. And so, with the Succubus series, anyone that likes books by Laurel Hamilton or there's a few other well-known authors in there, but they're not the same type books, but it would fit for someone that enjoys that. But again, there's still the suspense and there's the mystery because, to try to keep things going, for the reader to have that urgency to turn the pages.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's the author podcast. We get to meet great authors from around the world. And I'm so excited to have Leonard here on the podcast today to talk about his journey, what he's writing. He even likes to write in the car while waiting for his granddaughter, which is nice. I'm excited to have him here. Lots to learn from Leonard. Leonard, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be
Excellent,
here.
Leonard. Tell everybody, where are you in this big world of ours?
I'm in Parkersburg, West Virginia. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So as a first-time visitor, I have never been there. What's something I must do, must try? A food, a restaurant? Is there something? Where would you send me?
Oh, goodness. There's a place called Da Vinci's it's actually over in Ohio in Williamstown, just, across the river. So they serve pretty good food. So,
yeah. Okay. Is this where you're born and raised?
No, I was born in Middletown, Ohio, but I grew up in Alabama, Fort Payne, Alabama. And
nice.
Never in my life would I ever thought that I would move back. We lived in Ohio about 5 years before moving here. So it was kind of a, circle, a roundabout.
Excellent. All right. I love, when I talk to my American friends who come on the show, it's very rare that someone is born and raised and stayed where they were, where they grew up and they just lived there their whole life. Everyone seems to be, well, I was born in New York, but I live in LA. And I'm like, okay, well, everyone seems to be kind of transient. They're kind of moving around and being in different parts of the country. So I always like to trace back and see where my guests actually were raised. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, because I'm in Canada and I'm in Ontario and I'm in basically the same geographical area that I was born in. I basically have kind of moved a couple cities around where I am, but I'm pretty well primarily exactly where I was growing up. So, yeah, I haven't been as adventurous moving around the country as some of my American friends. So I love that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I went back to where, I grew up in Alabama. I think 2011, but it was because of the biggest tornado outbreak. When I grew up there, in 74, we had that first one and they were everywhere. And
yeah,
we live on a mountain that's actually a plains. You don't even realize you're on a mountain. It just, and of course, in 74, radar for weather was not that good. So they had seen the tornado, and this is before they started rating them as EF4 and 5 and so forth.
Yeah.
That they saw it on the map, and it was on the plateau, and then it dipped off into Fort Payne, and they lost it. And it was a mile wide. And so, it destroyed the south part of the town, or the north part of the town. It just tore through there. And, yeah. So I've always had a fascination with them. We've actually had 2 that had gone into our yard, and apparently not very, very big. But that same year, my dad had an old pink Cadillac, and it was junked over to the side of a shed, and it ripped the hood off of the car and set it on the other side of the yard, touched nothing else. And we didn't, it just doesn't make sense. And then I think it was around 93, a tornado knocked a pine over. And we had a odd maple in the backyard that was V-shaped, and it caught that tree. And I mean, it prevented it from actually hitting the house. And
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, so, so
Wow.
they do
Those
fascinate
things
me.
are powerful. Powerful and frightening, and you realize how small you are as a human in this big world. And something like that rips through, right? It's just, you're powerless to all that. It's incredible. Your career, too. I'm kind of interested, Leonard, how maybe your career has influenced your writing. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you've done in the past, career-wise?
Well, I've been a cashier. I've worked in restaurants and was in a hosiery mill for quite a few years. I'd say over 10 years or so. But Fort Payne was, at one time before NAFTA and CAFTA, they were the sock capital of the world. And they had a sign that used to be, as you came into Fort Payne, sock capital of the world. And I believe they said something like 1 out of every 8 pair of socks were manufactured there. But I did that for a while. You talk about
Oh,
riding in the car. I was riding, while doing my job. When I finished my first novel, The Predators of Darkness, I didn't think I had any more novels in me. And then it's like just about a month after that, I'm at work. And the reason I liked the job, it was total isolation. It's you against the machine. You make money according to how much you produce per day. So I was always in the top 2 or 3 people for how much production I put out. But it was like books came to me like watching a movie. I could see the characters, I could see what was going on, so I'd have to write it down. And that worked a lot for the first one. But then when the second one came along, I was thinking there's nothing there. But the characters, they started talking. They were like, we're not finished. And so different things came along that apparently I had overlooked in the first novel that would allow for, more problems with these genetic warriors and so forth. And so next thing I knew, I had another novel for that. But
it's amazing that the characters are talking to you. I've had other authors mention this, and it seems almost too hard to imagine that your characters can speak from the pages and lead you. You're supposed to lead them. You're the writer. But if it's interesting that the characters talk to you that way, I love that.
well, see, Ray Bradbury, this is one of the quotes I love by him. He said, follow the characters. And I mean, that's just what I do because the characters are going to lead you somewhere that sometimes you don't ever expect it. But I had the big debate when I was talking with other writers and so forth about do you use an outline? And I never have. I can't because I feel like it ties the characters down. I mean, a firm outline would. But when I do use an outline would be after I've written a novel, been ready to edit, and I go back and I just start writing out the outline to know where I am. If I need to go back to another chapter, then I have it. But yeah, I've had reviews on that first novel, said there's lots of twists and turns. Did not see that coming. I'm like, yeah, I didn't either because, I'm following the characters. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's better than being insane. If your
Yeah,
characters
right.
to the book are the ones talking to you and nothing else.
Right.
So, that's a good thing.
All right. So you talk about writing in the car. How else do you fit writing into your schedule? Because I know there's probably authors listening and they're wrestling with the clock and the calendar and responsibilities and being a grandfather and all of these things. And they're like, I don't even know if I have room in my day to write. What other things do you do to create space to write for yourself?
I generally wake up quite early in the morning, usually around 1 a.m. And
Wow.
yeah, when I was a kid, my great grandmother, she lived to be 92 or 93. And I always wondered, she'd go to bed when it got dark in the winter. And I mean, that could be in Alabama, it was like 5 o'clock. And then she'd get up when the sun rose. And I never understood it, but I generally go to bed around 7:30, something like that. But I never have been able to sleep very long. And I'll wake up at 1 a.m. and never use an alarm clock. So it's like ingrained. But yeah, what I do is try to keep a notebook handy, something to write on, because you never know when an idea will come to you. And as I've shared before, it's like with Predators of Darkness, I was getting ready to go into college and, well, go back to college. And the first sentence was what, it just struck me as I was laying there getting ready to go sleep was, and it's science fiction, but so dropping a cat from the top of a 10-story office building was not the best way to remain hidden, but it was necessary. And yeah, before critics all jump all over it, it's not a real cat. But it was an intriguing line. It was an intriguing opening to a book. So I thought, I don't know if I can use it, but I'm going to write it down. And so I did, returned to bed, and the next paragraph came. And so I had to get up, write that down, and try to go sleep. And I had pretty much 2 or 3 paragraphs before I went to sleep. But the next day, it was like 20 pages just came out of nowhere. And that's a flow that's hard to get. There are times when you struggle for the words, but when they come like that, you have to write them down or you won't have them. And so I do try to keep notebooks nearby, and I've got, dozens of them. And so, I couldn't do anything with the first 20 pages for over a year. And so I went to, it was like the last year, or actually the last semester of college before I'd graduate. I had a visiting professor who grew up in that area near Morehead State, and he came to teach. I think he had written several novels, and they were published. And his father actually was a renowned science fiction writer from like the 50s and 60s, but he would never talk about his dad. We always wondered. And so to make things a little interesting, in that one class, we had a guy named was Carl, who was, I think he worked with the one that started the Scientology. He worked with him back, in the 60s or something, but it was a long time ago. He was like 80, and he added some interesting things to the class. But with this 20 pages, the summer before I started that course, I sat down and said, I'm going to see what I can do with this and how to revise it. So I began with page 1, but by the time I got to page 20, by writing, adding to it and fleshing it out a little bit, the page 20 ended on page 100. And so I couldn't go any farther than what that spot was. And so I took this class with, his name is Dr. Chris Offutt, and we were allowed to turn in 1 chapter or a short story, and it would be critiqued by the rest of the class. Everybody got a chance to do that. So I thought, well, I will bring the first chapter there. And so at this time, the chapters were exceedingly long. It was like 30-something pages, 31 pages, I believe. And he let everybody speak, and people said how they were intrigued by it, and it made them want to read more. And then he got up to the board, and he said, Leonard, he said, you don't have 1 chapter. He said, you have 6, maybe 7. And he started outlining on the board all the different ways. And it was just, something just snapped to where I saw exactly what he was talking about. So I was able to, flesh it on out and give more insight to each of the characters. And that way, they're not 2D. They're like fleshed out. They're 3D characters that you understand and you can see more. So it was very beneficial information that he gave me.
It seems like as you're writing, it's like a puzzle piece, like a whole puzzle set, and you're being handed a couple pieces of the puzzle at a time. Instead of having everything, you're kind of like, well, here's this, here's that first line, and then here's 1 more piece, and then here's 2 more pieces. And you're like, okay, like where do I put all these things? How do I turn this into a puzzle, like a completed work, right? It's
Right.
interesting that it comes to you that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like talking about dropping the cat off the building. And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's not a cat. It's a genetically altered creature. What in the book they're called shifters, and they can realign, their genetics. But he, of course, survives, and it's, you know, when he does, later they meet up again. But the thing that was intriguing was the cat looked just like his cat when he was a younger person. And there's a lot behind that as you read the book, you understand. But the cat has become one of the most favorite characters in that book because, well, I don't like to give away a lot, but the cat can actually speak. So, I mean, it's like
Oh,
due to the genetics and stuff. So it's something that, that a lot of people really like because he's a little smart aleck. But he's also he can change to protect the ones around him. And, it's, hmm. But it's a
it's
very
interesting.
dark book as
It's
well.
dark. So as you're writing, are you uncovering things about yourself in the process of writing? Because it doesn't sound like you're on this path to be a writer originally. It's kind of like it just kind of came to you, and then you were willing and open to accept this kind of tap on the shoulder that you need to write this book. As you're writing, are you uncovering more about yourself in the process?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of me and a lot of the books, and almost little pieces here and there. But I've long said that writing for me is like therapy. I mean, you get the things out on the page, and yeah, I think a lot of writers do as well. Some of the bad characters in the books are people that they know in real life, and you want to get that part out to analyze it and so forth. But no, I've always wanted to write. I loved books from a very early age. I was reading when I was 3, and I'd ask, we see a sign or something. My dad, he drove a lot when we were growing up. You would thought he was in the military, but he was. But anyway, I'd see a word on a sign. I'm like, what's that? And so they'd tell me the word and I would remember it. I don't know. It was just like pizza was one of the earliest words I remember being able to spell and
Oh,
read. But by the time I entered like first grade, my teacher I had, Mrs. Brown, she had all the old reader books from the previous years in classes stored in her closet in the classroom. And I saw them one day. I'm like, do you care if I can read one of these? And so, "Oh, you can take it home." And so I would go home and I wouldn't watch cartoons or anything. Sit down and they were thick books. I'd read through the books, bring it back the next day and swap it out. And I just did that till I read every one she had and started going to the library and stuff. And pretty soon it got to where I started doing my own comics. I was, because there were things I didn't find that I would like to read. So I began writing them and wrote my first novel when I was like 10, 11 years old. But the household where my sister and we grew up, my father was, well, pretty much he was a narcissist. He was very
mm,
controlling and wouldn't say abusive, but, you know, the mind control was a thing. And so I started writing a novel and I was not letting him know I was doing it. I'd write on notebook paper and I'd stick it under big art uh, pad. And he came in one evening, opened the door up and he said, "What are you doing?" Like that. And I said, "Oh, nothing." And he left and he got really mad. And so I knew if I didn't tell him, he was just going to go in there anyway. And so I had written this, I think, wasn't long after Star Wars,
okay.
the first Star
Yeah, yeah.
Wars that really inspired me. And so he started reading it. And my mother read it. And like I said, I'm 10, 11 years old. Oh, this is too violent. Oh, you shouldn't write like this. I mean, it wasn't any more violent than what was in that movie, talking about aliens and other things and things like that. They were at war. Well, war is pretty violent. Even as a kid, I understood that. So it was a censorship early on. And so, you know, as time progressed, I changed a different story, which was based loosely on that. And it was the first novel I had started. And I did actually finish it. But I had three older siblings, and they would come visit in the summer. My dad's like, I was using typewriter, right? And he said, go get that book you're working on. So he's going to read it to him. And I mean, he started reading it. And of course, you're a kid, but, you didn't have like computers now where you can back up and you correct things and so forth. So any mistake I made, he would just hammer on it. And he found that one thing that was a mistake and just kept joking about it the whole time. And I was like, well, I'll never show you anything else, So, but I'd say the good thing about it was within that year, he and my mother divorced and he just went his way, which he had done to my older siblings. Same thing, just left. So they went from that, and I still kind of was writing, and to kind of fill the void of, the broken home, I started going to a church down the road where, my dad had been a preacher back for a very short time. He preached in that church. Got mad they didn't pick him for the new pastor because they didn't have one. So he hated everybody. It's just crazy. But my sister and I, we started going there, and and so I'd say in my teens, all of a sudden, anything fantasy related, they were saying you can't read that. They were trying to control anything with the imagination, and not knocking religion. I have my beliefs. I never press them on anyone else. But don't you have to have imagination to believe that there's a heaven, to believe that there's a God? Because you have to. Right. If you didn't, So these were the things that held me back, because I had to deal with my father, then the thing with the church. So I had kind of quit writing for several years. And then in 93, I went back to Berea College. I'd gone there 85, 86, dropped out. And when I went back, met my wife now, we were in a bookstore, college bookstore there in Berea. And we'd been dating for a few weeks. And there was a big discount table. And she said, this is my favorite author. And it was Dean R. Koontz. And it was a 3-in-1, thick book, And so I snuck back to the bookstore and bought it because I was going to surprise her and give it to her as a gift. And so I go back to my dorm room, and I'm like, why does she like this guy so much? What is about his type of writing? And he's very suspenseful, science fiction, fantasy, kind of mixture. He's cross-genre. So I read the first chapter, and immediately I'm like, wow, yeah. And he would end his chapters with a hook. So you go to the next chapter. But also he would do like a soap opera. Deal with this character, go to this other character, go back and forth, So it kept your pace going. So around chapter 4, there's the first book was The Servants of Twilight. And if you've never read it, it is a book that, it's a masterpiece in my mind. But it's about a woman. She's single and has a son that's about 6. And they're walking through the parking lot. And this hag-like woman, she's very scary, looks like a witch. And she starts pointing at the kid and says, you got to kill him. He's the Antichrist. So that's, in the first chapter. And you think, wow. But by chapter 4, I was hooked. And I just kind of told her, I said, well, I went and got you that book, but you'll have to wait till I finish that first book before I give it to you. But I learned a lot. I read almost everything early by Koontz and kind of used him as a mentor in how he writes. But the way that you pace things, these are the things that I've tried to do and incorporate in mine as well. Because if you don't create the sense of urgency, people stop reading. You can't do it every single page, but you want that drawing to where if a person can't connect to the character, why read,
Right.
And so that's what I try to do. And in a lot of ways, they do it for me, the characters. And it's kind of strange because there are times when I'm like, where did this come from? Or I'll reread a few chapters before and I'm amazed it's like someone snuck in and started typing on it. I'm like, I can't believe I wrote that, and that's not bragging. That's just what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like I've said before about the ethereal conduit, it's like writers tap into something that's
Yeah.
outside your mind and, it flows. There are times when it doesn't flow, and those are often pretty painful for people, what they call writer's block.
It's interesting. I love that little tap on the shoulder for you too. Like going back to that first line that you wrote in the early days there about the cat, and just like that seems so random. That the line, it doesn't make any sense in the moment. Probably, it's like, what does this mean? I don't know.
Right.
But I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna keep it, but I have no idea why this came to me. Like why me? There's so many other writers out there, right? I think that's the special part that a lot of authors can lean into when there's those moments where you feel like you're not qualified to be a writer, or there's so many other great writers. Why should I write? But there was a tap on your shoulder for that story. Didn't go to anybody else that we know of, but you did, and you accepted it, and now you're here, right? So there's something special there. I think that's really cool.
It's hard to explain. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is. It's like just the words come, and
Yeah.
you don't write them down, you probably would go insane. you know,
So you have many books for our readers to fall in love with, right?
I think I counted 23, but there's several. There's several that have yet to be published. They're
Okay.
they're finished, and
Yeah.
but it's
Wow.
strange too. I mean, it's like the first book is Predator's Darkness, and right now there's 5 that are published, and the second one is Beyond the Darkness, where it picks up from before. Everyone gets to see the cat even more, and so it's been interesting. The 5th book in it basically was from an idea. My dad worked at an Exxon in Cleveland, Tennessee, and one of his workers under him, which he was managers, but one of the workers, we got to talking about science fiction, and he starts talking about the electronic devices that people, what if they could use it to connect to your brain and control everything you do, you know. And so I kind of went with that idea for a long time, but I never dealt with it. But it was a book that once I started it, other books came along that the muse with it was stronger than what was with it. So from the time I began book 5 in that series, it took 11 years to get that one done. And I think Beyond the Darkness was about a year. And then The Game of Pawns is book 3, and it was about a year as well. But I write one urban fantasy paranormal romance that's called Succubus Shadows of the Beast. And so it's about a nightclub in Seattle, and it's run by 6 vampires, 6 witches, and 6 demons. So the girl, the main character, is Kaylee Yates, and she's at college in Boston, and she has a friend that's a witch, and they go to Salem a lot because they're, side to side. But her brother has married a woman that is actually a demon, and the friend sees it to they're having a conversation like we are, and she warns, but all of a sudden her brother gets killed. He's murdered. And so she's coming for the funeral. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing that she goes there, and the mystery and intrigue. And again, this is one of those that there's a lot of suspense, but at the same time, a lot of things that are revealed to me that I don't even understand. Then in it, there is a back character, and this has happened in several different ways with the other series. A back character that he's so intriguing. You're like, you want to know more, and then all of a sudden he starts telling you the story. So he's with the werewolf faction that are trying to stop the nightclub from doing all the mind control and everything they were doing. But he's not a werewolf. He actually his alteration is a grizzly bear, and he was so strong a character, so interesting. His name is Forrest Wollinsky, and so his story goes where he's born in 1888 or 1880, and in 1888 he discovers that he was chosen and born as a vampire hunter at 8, but he's the size of a massive full-grown male, at 8. So he's like the outcast at his school and everything else.
Yeah.
And then his father gets murdered by a vampire. And so this is where he discovers that his uncle is a werewolf and tells him that the master vampire is coming to kill him. So he tries to help train him and stuff. So, But I wrote that book in about a month. And I mean, it just flowed. And it went straight into book 2, a month. And then straight into book 3, a month. And so I have to get back to like the 4th book in it. But when you have that flow, like I say, you have to stick with it. Because if you force your writing, it just doesn't, people can tell, I believe.
Do you have an ideal reader for your books, Leonard, that you have in mind when you go to promote your book? You're like, this would be a great book for ... Who do you think would be a great reader for your work?
Oh, anyone it just depends. I write multiple genres. So, I mean, if you like suspense and mystery and The Predators of Darkness is a good series for that. But like I say, the first book in it is probably the darkest thing I've written besides a book that's called Devil's Den, which is a haunted cave. Those are probably the 2 darkest novels I've written. But I have a young adult series that's D's Mystery Solvers. And basically they're about the length of Goosebumps books.
Okay.
So, that would be an audience pretty much for those. And so with the Succubus series, anyone that likes books by Laurel Hamilton or there's a few other well-known authors in there, but they're not the same type books, but it would fit for someone that enjoys that. But again, there's still the suspense and there's the mystery because, to try to keep things going, for the reader to have that urgency to turn the pages.
It's exciting. So today, as we talk, kind of what is your current writing schedule? How often are you writing, and kind of what are some things that you're working on right now?
I'm actually working on, I think it's the 5th book in the D's Mystery Solvers, which those are short and I usually go pretty quick. Yeah. But I try to write every day. Yeah, really? I always get to. I'm trying to think, the next book probably in the Nocturnal Trinity series. It is actually finished, but I'll probably do another, revisions and so forth. And don't really know. There's so much, that comes along. But I'm having fun with the D's Mystery Solvers because you're dealing with teenagers. And
those seem to be a little bit of a lighter writing process for you for those compared to some of the other work you're doing as well. It's kind of a, you can work on a big project that's really heavy and dark, and then you can switch gears and write something that's a little bit shorter and a little bit different audience. You can kind of bounce around. You're not just writing one style all the time, right?
Right, yeah. There's the one book that was just released last month, and D's Mystery Solvers probably has one of the cutest covers I've ever seen. I had a lady that she's in, I think, New Zealand. She does most of them. But It's just a little play on words, but it's a mystery. But it's the Pie Rats, a little hyphen there, of the Caribbean. It's about these
The pie.
four
I
rats
like
that
that.
are stealing the pies from a bakery, and the owner, she's trying to get them to solve it because, based on another book in the series, there's a portal that they discover that takes them through to other places and so forth.
The pie rats. I like that. That's good. Where did that idea come from for you? That's really creative.
I've had the title for probably years, but hadn't written enough in the book to get them there because, like I say, they are teenagers, and so this would have to happen during the summer when they're not in school. And the only way they got there was by accident through the portal they discovered.
Right.
So
Interesting. Yeah, I love where titles come from too. I think that's interesting. For you as an author, do your titles generally come first, or did your titles sometimes come after you're done writing? How does that work for you?
it varies really. I mean, it
Yeah.
used to have a hard time with titles and so forth, but as it, I guess the more you write, the easier that is. But
Yeah.
I think my hardest part is writing a synopsis. You can write the full book, but
Yeah.
condensing it down, I'm getting better at it, but it's always been a little rougher.
As far as you talked about artwork and working with people to help you with your covers, any tips for an author around kind of just explaining the book to an illustrator so that they can give you back a cover that kind of resembles what's in your mind? Any little tips about making a great cover?
I would say would some of it would deal with the genre,
Yeah.
what you're doing, because then what I can do is pick a section of the book and I would send it to her and she'd read it. And it was amazing to me because like every time I've done that, and she would send me exactly something far better than I even could have imagined. And that's the thing with
Nice.
the little pirates, they're like
Yeah.
the little pirate suits and stuff. And it's like, that's just amazing. And so,
Nice.
but I do editing as well. So she and I have a agreement. I would edit her books, and
Good.
in return she would do covers for me. So it's been a good deal. So
That's a great arrangement. I like that you do that for people. That's good. For readers then, Leonard, that want to follow your journey and stay up to date on everything that's happening and kind of go back and see your catalog as well. We've got to send them somewhere. Where would you like to send the listeners so they can follow your journey as an author?
they could check my author page on Amazon. I think everything's pretty well listed there.
Right.
I have a website. It's Leonard D. Hilley II.com, and it has a lot of the things, the books and stuff, and I have a blog on there. And so I've got to continue working and getting more covers in because it's almost a little outdated because I've written so much so fast on some of these. But yeah,
It's a nice problem to have.
it's better than when everything was locked down. For some reason, that was a perfect opportunity to write, and I just couldn't write.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why. It was the perfect opportunity, and it just wasn't there.
Okay. I like that. We'll have links for everybody to come and check out your information and all the stuff around your books in the notes for the podcast. Maybe a closing thought for a young Leonard early on that could have been helpful for you to hear when you were first starting from an author, a published author like yourself. What would have been helpful to hear back in the day that would have kind of given you some direction or encouragement? What do you want to close off? Because that person's listening. So let's encourage them.
Well, for me, I mean, had it not been for my wife, I would not have found, how to get, people interested like publishers or agents or anything like that. But the biggest thing is to read a lot. And I mean, read everything you can get your hands on. And even bad books, read bad books, because you can see what not to do, what doesn't work.
Right.
Edit, learn how to edit. If you can't edit, hire somebody to edit. regardless of where you are as a writer, it can always be polished better. But the thing is, you know, people will judge you on, you know, your prose and syntax and all that stuff. If you don't have it properly edited, then there are people, you know, they'll comment about it. Believe me, there's some brutal people out there. But yeah, the thing for me was after I had gotten a book finished was how do you contact agents? How do you this and that?
Yeah.
So we were in a bookstore, and there was a book. I don't know if it's still available. I think it's out of print, but it was How to Write and Sell Your First Novel, and it was actually written by an agent, literary agent, and had a lot of good information in it. But then there was Writer's Digest, and Writer's Digest puts out a thick book, or did. I don't know how much it's changed with the internet, because before the internet, that was your source. Gives the agents addresses and contact information, the publishers that don't require you to have an agent. And the majority of traditional publishers want you to have an agent. But getting an agent is probably about as hard as getting a publisher. So it's a hard game to play. I mean, it really is. And then with Amazon and books, you know, Barnes and Noble allowing people to start publishing, that opened up some doors. But at the same time, it created a lot of problems because, like I say, people get the idea from Hollywood that if you're a writer and you you publish books, you're going to be a millionaire. And hasn't happened for me yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the glamour. So you always, as a writer, you hear other people say, well, I'm just going to have to write a book and get rich. Well, you know, good luck, because, you know, those are the outliers. You know, on the outside, those are the ones, you know, that get there. Then they're sometimes very fortunate. A lot of people don't realize Stephen King wrote 4 novels. All 4 were rejected. Wrote numerous short stories that were rejected. And then Carrie was the first novel. He had thrown away the first pages of it. And his wife was cleaning up his office and found him, said, you need to finish this. You think about it, how close. But yeah, you never know. But yeah, those things, you need to find the sources. And again, finding an editor if you need one. And I know it sounds silly, but I taught college English, composition, basic English at one college I taught, and you wouldn't believe how much I rekindled my memory of just basic things. And the thing with teaching that for like 3 courses, I was able to write faster because, I mean, it was like reminded me of things because you think you remember them. And when you go back 20 years, you know, some of that stuff kind of gets rusty.
It's good advice for any author. I think they can really follow along with that and be encouraged by that. And as well, they can come and read your books and see how you've developed over the years and get introduced to a cat who has a big fall, but everything's okay. No cats were harmed in the making of these books. But yeah, I'm excited that it all came from that one little prompt. And here you are today, Leonard. This is really, really great. It's a good story.
Well, I appreciate you letting me come on here, and we'll see maybe in the future. But
oh, I'd love to have you back. Yeah, and can catch up on new works and things that are coming. I'm sure there's lots in the works for us as readers, and I really appreciate the fact that you have time to come on the show, Leonard. It's really, really great to have you here.
I do have one box set that's the Aetheaon Chronicles, and it's like 1,744 pages. And I'm running it right now for 99 cents on Amazon. You can't get it in paperback because, I mean, you know, who's going to want to carry something that big? But, you know, if you use any kind of e-reader, even on your phone, you can get it for 99 cents.
Great. Well, mention that we can find through your Amazon link, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We'll have that in the show notes as well. Everyone go grab that. That's a great deal. Gee, 99 cents. Come on. That's a great deal. Yeah. Leonard, again, thank you so much for doing this. Keep writing, keep sharing your stories, and And please be kind to cats. That'd be really nice.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. I mean, here's the thing that's interesting. I have a stray right now that you can't pet him, but he comes within distance. He knows he's not, going to get hurt. And the one before him, she's black cat, and she has the long Halloween cat tail. And she hadn't, she wouldn't let you touch her. But after about a week, she finally let me, and now she, it's all over you. So, but I think cats, they've always been attracted to me. It's kind of weird. We have raccoons that come up and eat with them. And the raccoon that brought 2 babies up with her, and then 3 possums that come up. It's really, really odd. We live in town. I mean, it's not like we're out in the forest. So it's really neat.
They know that there's good people there, that they are safe around you. So that's good. I love it. It's good, Leonard. Thank you so much for doing this. Let's stay in touch. I'd love to have you back in the future.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right. Excellent.
Bye.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.